Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar, run for the latest UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. So over the next 2 or 3 days we'll see the mildest weather we've seen for many months since last autumn, as temperatures are likely to get into the mid to high teens across many parts of England and Wales. 17-18 degrees could be seen through much of this weekend, as we do see southerly winds pushing air from the mid-Atlantic all the way to our shores. Initially we are under higher pressure, but slowly lower pressure is going to make some intrusions from the west, and you can see that already on the live radar with the rain starting to break out in the west. At the moment it's going to remain in the west, but will push eastwards at times. Although it will be mild, it could even be warm in places, there is going to be precipitation around, there is going to be cloud around, so we're not going to see wall-to-wall sunshine, unfortunately, but it will still feel very pleasant outside. However, as I said, it's only the next 2 or 3 days. As we head into next week and beyond, it's actually going to turn cold, if not very cold, once again, as we see high pressure position itself to our north. Easterly, or at least initially northeasterly winds will be pushing in, and some of the runs today have got some very cold air moving in. Now, we have been highlighting this colder spell for a number of days now, and initially it looked chilly, nothing remarkable, but slowly over the past few days the air mass to our northeast and that block has got stronger and colder, and today the GFS even pulls in the -10 isotherm, some of the coldest air we've seen throughout the whole of winter, and now we're into spring, so a very cold pattern could be setting up. Now, it is mid-March by the time this cold air does arrive, so of course it's not going to be comparable to a similar pattern or similar block in mid-January. It's simply not going to be the same. Temperatures will not be, well below freezing by day. They're not going to see ice days, but we could see temperatures struggling to get above 3, 4, 5 degrees by day and below freezing overnight. Dew points are likely to be very cold as well, which means there is a high chance of wintry precipitation pretty much anywhere if that sort of air does move in. There's a very high confidence in it, very, very strong resemblance from all the runs for this big block. It's just about longevity and intensity. Now, you may have watched some videos of the past few weeks where we've been talking about sudden stratospheric warming, and that is likely to have a factor in why this blocking pattern is going to occur. We had that video out a week ago and another update out a couple of weeks ago. And very much looking at the sudden stratospheric warming and saying mid to late March, look out for colder conditions. And that's exactly what we are seeing now. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see generally still a pretty mild evening. We'll look at those temperatures in a minute, but rain is pushing in from the west. Dry in the east, but cloud is thickening and turning more widespread, and we are seeing some of these heavier pulses moving in from the west, as we do see a squeeze in those isobars, drawing up some warm southerly air, but also introducing lower pressure in from the west. Now, recording this just after 8 p.m, and look at that, lots of yellows, a very mild evening. Temperatures might not drop below the double digits for many tonight, and could, as I said, get into the mid-teens come tomorrow, even higher through the weekend. Now, if you look at the latest UKV, you can see that rain slowly nudging in from the west at the moment, and it will continue to stay in the west predominantly through Friday, but could slowly transition eastwards, especially the thicker cloud could move more and more widespread progressively through Friday into Saturday. Still dry in the east, rain still around in the far west, cloud picking up. And slowly into Sunday, we continue to see a bit of precipitation around, but it does look like, especially through late Saturday into Sunday, that precipitation has died out a little bit, which is a positive. There will be lots of cloud around. There will be breaks in that cloud, though, so it's not wall-to-wall sunshine, but still lots of pleasant conditions and warm temperatures. But look what happens through Sunday. We start to see the air moving in from the north. Watch this, a weather front arriving Sunday evening to Monday with a bit of wintriness along it over the higher ground of Scotland, slowly clearing southwards, and more snowfall and wintriness in general through Monday into Tuesday, and we start to set up a very cold north or northeasterly wind. You can see it's just about clearing the far southeast, the cold front by this stage. So it could be late Tuesday into Wednesday before the very cold air arrives for all. But you can see the transition slowly takes hold through Sunday, Monday, and then into Tuesday with widespread wintry showers and a very cold feel. You can see the dew points well below freezing come middle of next week, which means a high possibility of wintry precipitation. Not necessarily heavy snow, but wintry precipitation, growlpool, sleet, hail, or even some snow. If you look at the upper air temperatures, very mild at the moment and continue to be very mild over the next few days. Look at that, 5, 6, maybe even 7 degrees in a few spots. But then look at the transition through Monday into Tuesday. Very cold air arrives from the north, pulling in from the north and the northeast, and it could get more intense than that. GFS definitely suggests later on next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the -10 isotherm could even push in. Now do look at the 2 meter temperatures. As we head into Friday, temperatures, look at this, 15, 16, 17 degrees, very pleasant. And into Saturday, it could be even higher. Look at this, 16, 17, maybe even an 18. And even into Sunday, look at that, still 16, 17, 18 across central parts of England. The warmest conditions in many, many months. But then overnight into Sunday, through Monday, very cold air starts to arrive in the north. Monday afternoon, still 13, 14 degrees in the far south, low single digit in the north, and it really takes hold into Tuesday. Temperatures dropping away close to freezing or below freezing overnight. And into Tuesday afternoon, look at that, temperatures really struggling. The first day of that colder air properly arriving, might not see temperatures getting much above 6, 7 at best. Many, though, 3 or 4. So yeah, looking very chilly come Tuesday, and it will remain at that sort of level, if not colder, in the subsequent days. And of course, if that very cold air, -10 isotherm, pushes in, like the GFS suggests, then yeah, could be even a couple of degrees colder than this, maybe only 3 or 4 degrees in the top areas. So yeah, much colder feel next week, potentially even a 15-degree temperature change from Sunday through to Tuesday or Wednesday in some spots. 18 degrees Sunday afternoon, 3 or 4 come Tuesday. And we can see this transition on the latest GFS. Southerly winds pushing in at the moment, high pressure to our east, low pressure to our west. And you can see slowly into the weekend, into the next week, high pressure replaces low pressure towards Iceland and Greenland, and we pull in this northeasterly wind. These are the sort of charts that you want to see in midwinter for very cold, snowy conditions. We did see them at times, and we did see them hinted at lots during February, but they never came off in February. They're coming off now, and you can see very cold northeasterly, and eventually even a flat easterly here from the GFS. Very cold air streaming in off the near continent. As we head though into the final third or so of March, that block does break down to a certain extent. It's still around. We're not seeing an Atlantic onslaught, so it still would be dry, but that cold air would run out for a period of time before it tries to build the block in once again toward 384 hours. But you can see much milder air is involved as that cold air gets shoved out of Europe. So although, yes, it looks very cold initially, it could be a bit more of a milder, tamer easterly or even northeasterly as we do head into the latter parts of March as that cold air starts to run out. But you can see here through Tuesday into Wednesday, cold air rise, -5 isotherm moving in for all. But then later in the week, look at this, the -10 isotherm arise. Very cold conditions streaming in from the North Sea. And it remains very cold for the subsequent days, for eventually into the following week, milder air starts to move in. But with still lots of high pressure around, possible inversion. It could be similar to what we saw earlier in the week and last week, where we saw not too bad days, 10, 11 degrees by day, but very cold at night. Could be similar pattern to that. Now, to look at the latest GM, it's very, very similar. The real debate is over the intensity and the longevity. We are definitely looking at this cold spell for much of the rest of next week. It's just how much longer will it last after that? Can see the northeasterly arriving as we do head into early next week. It holds for much of next week and intensifies perhaps towards the end of the week. Eventually the block looks like it could break down, But all the way to next Sunday, the 16th of March, we stay in cold, if not very cold air. And again, the -10 isotherm gets very close to fully pushing in. But you can see just here, it's not quite as large in its size, that -10 area. So slightly milder air mass, but still very cold, and perhaps even got a longer lasting pattern there than even the GEM. And finally, if we compare it to the latest ecmwf, broadly very, very similar. You can see again those northeasters arriving next week, lasting through much of the week and even into the following weekend. Look at this, the high pressure goes nowhere. We continue to stream in those EC winds. The ecmwf perhaps not the most intense run, not getting the -10 isotherm in, but definitely got the longevity here with the -5 isotherm in control from pretty much Monday into Tuesday all the way through the whole of the week. That is quite an interesting pattern for March. It's very difficult to sustain very cold air through spring just because the strength of the sun really starts to degrade away. So yeah, just keeping the floodgates open to the Arctic through all of next week. Yes, the temperatures are going to be cold, but the feel-like temperature is going to be even colder. That wind chill coming off the North Sea. Can't emphasise how much of a different feel we'll have this time next week compared to what we're going to see over the next few days, where it's going to be a warm, almost balmy southerly wind, going to completely reverse into next week. And we can see the confidence here from the latest ensembles. This is the latest GFS. Mild, 5 degrees above average over the next few days. Completely reverses next week to 5 to maybe even 10 degrees below average, with that GFS run there being very cold, with the -10 isotherm moving in. And then a slow warming trend around the 16th, 18th of March, but by no means a quick upturn in those temperatures, staying well below average or just below average there all the way into the final third of March. 2 meter temperatures as well, very disappointing. Look at that, from 15, 16 degrees next couple of days, maybe even slightly higher, down to 5 or 6 at best. And rural spots will be colder. Outside of London, much colder as well. And of course, the wind chill will make it feel a heck of a lot colder than this, more like freezing. And then you see the dew point below freezing as well, which means a pretty high chance of some sort of wintry precipitation, and you can see that here. Not expecting anything major for most. Higher ground perhaps in the far north as well, perhaps. For most though, just be a few perhaps wintry showers. A bit of whiteout conditions at times is a possibility, but I think the precipitation is something we'll focus on through the weekend as we do get closer to that northeasterly arriving. And finally, if you compare it to the latest ecmwf, unfortunately the midday run is only just coming out, so I'll have a look at the midnight run and look at the confidence. All runs as that -5 line, not too many down to the -10, so not as many very cold runs, but all are confident in a cold pattern. And look at this, not much increase until around the 18th or even 20th of March. So not only is it a pretty intense colder spell, 6, maybe 7 or even 8 degrees below average from a lot of runs here, but it lasts not just 3 or 4 days, perhaps 6, 7, 8, maybe even longer if we go by some of the more extreme colder runs. So yeah, get a real taste of proper spring-like conditions this weekend. 18 degrees, maybe even slightly higher, warm, feeling like we're on the way towards summer, but it's all going to reverse next week as we go into a cold, if not very cold pattern, return to a feel-like temperature down towards the low single digits, if not towards freezing. Overnight frost is going to be quite widespread, and even the risk of snow pretty much anywhere with this colder air mass. Lots of dry air, dew points are low, so definitely a high chance of some convection taking place along those eastern coasts. And you wouldn't be surprised to see some falling snow, even to low-lying areas. So yeah, do keep your eyes peeled out next week. But the big thing will be is those temperatures. Going to feel exceptionally cold next week. And yeah, not ideal. Definitely, as I repeatedly said, in the mood to see something a bit warmer, a bit brighter, and something spring-like. I know we've seen a bit of that this week, but I want some consistency. And finally, I want that proper cold to disappear. But unfortunately, making a big return, perhaps a long-lasting return next week. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.